So we started English literature using the technique periods of English literature. Then only we can complete the systematic way. Otherwise, we can start anywhere and we can end anywhere, or we can get stuck in anywhere. So it is should not be like that. So that's why we started with a system, or whatever the technique or the trick is. We are going to complete the English literature with the help of the periods of English literature. Some periods are not part of the syllabus, but still we should know at least minimum information from those periods. So Old English literature we have completed, which may not come in your examination. Even Middle English literature also we completed, which may not come in your examinations. But if you have read, if you have learnt about that information, it will give you confidence. And then we started the Renaissance or early modern period in English literature. 450 to 1066 is the Old English literature period. 1066 to 1500 is the Middle English literature period, and from 1500 to 1660 is the Renaissance or the early modern, new kind of life, the modern, but it is the early modern. And under that it is divided into further three periods. First one is 1558 to 1603 is the Elizabethan Age. 1603 to 1625 is the Jacobian Age. 1625 to 1649 is the Caroline Age, and 1649 to 1660 is the Commonwealth Period or Puritan Interagnum. Now, so far we have completed the Elizabethan Age. So the Renaissance or early modern age are further divided into four divisions from 1500 to 1660, and these were the rulers who ruled England and their names given to this age. So Elizabeth ruled England from 1558 to 1603. So that's why that age is mentioned or known as the Elizabethan Age, and which is also considered as a golden age. And when we complete this Elizabethan Age, we have read most important characteristics of the Elizabethan Age, literary features, historical background of the Elizabethan Age, and we have read the important writers of the Elizabethan Age. And one of the most prominent or most important writer is Shakespeare we have completed, and Shakespeare contemporary also we discussed a little, like the university wits. And then we have taken the text from the Elizabethan Age, especially Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is part of the syllabus. So in Shakespeare we have discussed Shakespearean tragedies and Shakespeare comedies. So what are the features of Shakespearean tragedies we discussed, what are the features of Shakespearean comedies also we discussed. And the text we have taken for Shakespearean tragedies are Hamlet, Macbeth, Julius Caesar we have completed, and for the Shakespearean comedies we have completed the Tempest and As You Like It. And then now we are going into the next age, Jacobian Age, Caroline Age, Commonwealth Period or Puritan Interregnum, and the Neoclassical Period is there, Restoration or Age of Dryden, Age of Pope, Augustan Age, Age of Sensibility, Age of Johnson. But you will get a question, immediately a question comes in your mind. If you check the syllabus of English literature, it is not mentioned that we have to read from Jacobian Age to Age of Sensibility, because if you see the syllabus, let me just show you the syllabus for confirmation, because I don't want to start the class with a doubt in your mind. So this is the syllabus for your English examination or NVS or KVS exam. We could complete Shakespearean works so far, and next one we have to jump from Shakespeare works to, that means Elizabethan period to Romantic period. But in between Elizabeth period to Romantic period, there are other periods are also in between these two. And if we directly move from Shakespearean age or Shakespearean works or from Elizabethan period to Romantic period, what will happen? There will be a gap in our understanding of English literature. There will be a gap understanding about the periods, what actually happened before Romantic period and after Elizabethan period. So to just fill the gap, I am going to take this class. So this class is kind of a bridge class between Elizabethan age and the Romantic period. I'll try to complete at least 4 ages starting from Jacobean, Caroline and Puritan Interregnum, and in the next class I'll try to complete even Romantic period also if possible. So what I thought is, what I believe is, I should not jump from directly from Elizabethan period to Romantic period. So that is the reason why this class is just a bridge class. I will explain, or we will discuss the topics related to the Jacobean age, Caroline age, Puritan Interregnum, Restoration period, all those things in this class. So these syllabus is not part of your examination, but still we must cover so that we will develop a comprehensive understanding about the literature. You can study literature from anywhere and any type or any point you can start, but how to read the literature systematic is the biggest doubt, or that is the biggest puzzle every literature student has. So in the previous batch, so what we decided is to complete the syllabus in a systematic manner, we have to go with this periods of English literature, then only we can complete. So that is the reason why I am using the same technique, I am using the same method to complete the syllabus for your NVS or KVS, PGT English or English subject exam. So I have to teach, or we have to go at least minimum information we should learn from Jacobian to Age of Johnson. Now if you have any questions, Ghoshji, you can ask me. If you think that these ages are not important of examination point of view, yes, I do agree with you. But if you generally skip, if you skip from 1603 and directly enter into 1798, how do we remember or how do we understand what happened before Romantic period, what led to the Romantic period, and what are the different developments in the English literature? Goji.
Yes, sir, you are right. In order to remember each and every age in a correct sequence, somehow you have to know the ages and the background, social background, socio-economic background of the ages. We need to know some basic concepts, sir. You are right, sir.
What about Venkatesh, sir?
Sir, I have checked some books, especially William J. Lang book. They written some like Anglo-Saxon Old English period and Norman Anglo-Norman period, and those things all. Which one I have to follow?
You have to follow me. The book you are asking about, or the syllabus you have to you are asking, Venkatesh, sir?
Yeah. So periods. There are so many periods, sir. Which are the most important in these periods, according to our exam?
According to examination point of view, you have to go with the syllabus given. What is the syllabus given for your examination is, the syllabus is very simple. If I want to tell you, I can complete the given syllabus of NVS or KVS within 15 days. If I go with only the syllabus which is given by KVS, 15 classes are enough for completing the syllabus, because in the syllabus, Venkatesh sir, it has Shakespearean works which we have already completed. Romantic period, we have to study Shelley, Wordsworth, Keats, Coleridge, etc. Then this one is completed. Then 19th and 20th century American English literature, they have given important writers Robert Frost, Hemingway, Whitman, Hawthorne, Emily Dickinson, Bernard Shaw, Arthur Miller, etc. And then modern Indian writing in English and modern writing in English. It has only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts only.
You mean the period of the Restoration onwards we have to follow, right?
Not period of restoration. That also doesn't come in examination point of view. According to examination point of view, I am talking. This is the syllabus. But we cannot study English literature in that manner. Because if you directly come to Shakespearean works without knowing what is a soliloquy, without knowing what is aside, without knowing what is a monologue, without knowing the stage of Shakespeare, without knowing the Shakespeare background, without knowing who are the inspirations for the Shakespeare and where Shakespeare has received that kind of information, it will be completely like, shooting at the what you call blank point. That means if you take a revolver and if you load and if you try to shoot in the examination, you may shoot the right, you may target the right aim and you may shoot it, but there is no guarantee that you will directly shoot the bullseye. So what we are doing is, we are starting with the basics in a systematic manner so that we will complete these things also, and we will know what happened before Shakespeare and what happened after Shakespeare, what happened before Shelley. All those things will be understood in a systematic manner. So according to your NVS, Venkatesh sir, the syllabus is very easy to complete.
Okay, sir.
So let me go back to the periods here.
Sir, here 19th and 20th century English literature mean, is it modern period from British literature?
Yes. Now see here, Venkatesh sir.
Yes, sir.
According to syllabus, we have to move from Elizabethan age to Romantic period, correct?
Yeah. Eligible.
But what about these ages? Jacobian, Caroline, Commonwealth, Neoclassical period, Restoration period, Age of Pope, Age of Sensibility. At least we should know some information in these ages so that there will be a connectivity.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Otherwise, why I want to waste your valuable time and why I have to take extra classes for completing the syllabus which is not part of your examination? The reason is they think that okay, these are the important areas which a postgraduate teacher must cover or a trained graduate teacher must cover. But we are preparing in a comprehensive manner. What is the comprehensive manner? You are preparing not only for KVS or NVS. With this coaching, you should clear any examination which is about the English literature. That is my target. That is my actual purpose of teaching this coaching or classes. Okay. So, but as we completed already one batch with Diksha ma'am and Deepthi ma'am, it took a lot of time to complete in a very elaborative manner we discussed. So I am not going to do such thing again in these classes. What I am going to do is just I am going to give you information chunks, pieces of information, important questions or important examination point of view information. We are not going to discuss elaborative way these ages. But when it comes to romantic period, then we'll take the text and we will discuss. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Sir, in the syllabus, 19th and 20th century British literature is given. Mean 19th and 20th mean is it modern period from British literature?
19th century means can you tell me the years starting, Goji?
19 means from 1800 to 1919.
1800 to 1900, correct? 1800 to 1899.
1899. Yes.
Right. And then 20th century means 1900 to 1999, correct?
Yes, sir.
Where do they come? After romantic period only they will come?
That is Victorian period.
So after romantic period, Victorian period, Edwardian period, modern period, then Georgian period, and then postmodern. So we have to cover these things only in your exam.
From romantic to postmodern, all the periods we have to read.
Yes, correct.
Yes, sir. Okay.
So if you have understood, then I'll start the class, because you should not think that I am wasting your valuable time. If you think that these are unnecessary, these things are not required in examination point of view, then I can directly skip. And if I skip these ages, I can save at least 2 to 3 classes. If I save 3 classes, then I can finish these syllabus within 1 month. But my intention is not to just complete the syllabus. My intention is to explain things, or you have to come to know in a comprehensive manner, in a overall picture you should get, so that if by chance if the question comes from any one of these ages, at least you should be in a position to answer the question. That time you should not say that intentionally these topics are skipped and other questions are come and we have been misled. So that should not happen. So I am taking extra 2 or 3 classes to complete this syllabus, which may not be part of your KVS or NVS syllabus. If you both agree, then I will start the class. Venkatesh sir and Goji.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Because
I'll agree. We have to work on.
One by one. Goji, बताइए आप.
Yes, sir. I will fully agree to it. Is because we need to clear the basic concepts, sir. English literature.
Venkatesh sir.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, sir. We have to look at our books and we'll refer to ourselves. Then only we'll come to know so many things. As per your suggestion, you can go through chronological order.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Diksha, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Right. Fine. Let us start the class. So now we are going to Jacobian age. Again, one more time I'll repeat. These 4 ages are under Renaissance or early modern. Direct question comes in examination is, which age is not part of the Renaissance or which age is not part of early modern. So they can give you 4 ages. Out of the 4 ages, they can change one age and they may ask you a question. So under Renaissance or Renaissance, the pronunciation might be different from different university professors. The Renaissance or Renaissance is also known as early modern. Examination point of view, these are little important. A period of Renaissance or early modern is 1500 to 1660, and this Renaissance or early modern is divided into 4 different ages. starting from Elizabethan age 1558 to 1603. She was the ruler, and that age was considered to be the golden age for the English literature. After Elizabeth's death, she has not left with any heirs, or she was not having any heir. So Jacobian age starts, and after that his son Caroline age comes. After Caroline, the Commonwealth period or Puritan Interregnum comes. So I'll try to complete these three ages briefly in this class. So now let us go to directly to the age of Renaissance, and under that now we are discussing the Jacobian age. So in Latin word, Jacobus means James. So his name is James Jacob. He was the ruler of Scotland actually. When Queen Elizabeth died, she became the King of England. So that's why he is the first king, or he is known as the King of United Kingdom. So 1603 to 1625 is the Jacobian age, and in the Latin word the Jacobus means James, and his full name is James Jacob. King James I, he is also known as King James I, and is very fond of literature, and he published 4 books, a counterblast to tobacco in 1604, and he translated the Bible into English. So 1611 is the Bible translated into English, and this one is known as James I version of Bible. Many a times this question comes in exam. King James I's version of Bible is translated into English in which year? It is in 1611, though it is not part of your syllabus, but these kind of questions are very, very important. So King James version of Bible, or King James I translated the Bible into English, and it is also known as the authorized version of Bible. Why he had to complete, or why he had to translate? He is a Protestant, and he had faith in Jesus Christ, and there were so many Catholics in that time, and these two groups, though they were Christians, there was rivalry between Catholics and Protestants. King James I, he had published the authorized version of Bible, and he suppressed or oppressed Catholics. So Catholics were not happy with this King James I, and it led to so many problems in the future. And the important writers in this Jacobian age were Shakespeare. Shakespeare was also in Elizabethan age, and he continued in Jacobian age. And then we have Shakespearean contemporaries: Ben Jonson, Beaumont and Fletcher, Webster, Turner, Froude, Middleton and Rowley. So these were the Jacobian writers. Donne and Drayton were two of the most famous lyric poets of the period. Bacon and Robert Burton were best known prose writers. Now, historical background, if you see, James I of England and James VI of Scotland, so he was the king of Scotland and he was king of England, ascended the throne of England after the death of Queen Elizabeth in 1603. Queen Elizabeth died childless, that's why her cousin from Scotland was called to be the king of England. So that was the reason why James I became the king of England. King James I was a Protestant and he married to a Catholic queen. See, he was very religious in nature. He wanted Protestantism to be flourished in his kingdom, and he took a lot of wrong decisions. And in one of the decisions he took wrong was he married a Catholic queen. He thought that it would make Protestants and Catholics to live together, but after marrying Catholic queen, what happened? The Protestants developed a kind of doubt and suspicion on King James I. And King James I strongly believes that kings were direct descendants of God, and so whatever the decision taken by the king should not be opposed by anybody in the kingdom. So he proclaimed divine rights. What is divine rights? They believe that the kings are the direct descendants of God, direct connection with God. So he proclaimed the divine rights. Remember, this is examination or general knowledge also very important. King James I or James I of England proclaimed divine rights in 1604. According to it, kings were the representative of God and thus answerable to him alone. So they were not they cannot be questioned by anybody in the kingdom or in the world, and they are answerable only to God, and nobody else have the power to question them. So this was actually the mindset or the behavior of James I of England. So that was one of the reasons why there was a what you call a rebellion against these kind of kings in the later part of the history. And then he appointed 47 translators were appointed to write authorized version of Bible, and that was published in 1611. A series of plots were engineered to depose him. So there were so many what you call conspiracies happened. Gunpowder conspiracy was one of the famous conspiracy where Catholics wanted to kill this James I of England or James I of England, because he was a Protestant and Catholics were against to this Protestant king. The most famous of these plots were the gunpowder plot. It is again a story. There were a group of Catholics, they wanted to kill James I so that they can come back to the power and they can bring back their Catholic beliefs. So there was a conspiracy and they wanted to explode the entire parliament and as well as the James I, but they failed to execute that one. But that is a very famous plot, and the name of the plot which happened the name of the conspiracy which took place in the Jacobian era, Jacobian period, is the gunpowder plot. And in November 1605, a group of Roman Catholics planned to blow up the English House of Parliament as its opening by the king, to create a Roman Catholic rising in the Midland and secure a toleration for Catholics. One of the conspirators, Francis Treshman, betrayed Guy Fawkes. This one name, remember, Guy Fawkes. Still today in England they are celebrating this gunpowder plot or King James I, or it is also known as Guy Fawkes celebration something. The leader was discovered ready to fire and was executed along with 8 other conspirators. So Guy Fawkes was one of the one who was hiding in the parliament, and he was trying to fix the gunpowder dynamites and all those things to blow up the parliament. Gunpowder, he was the one who wanted to blow up the entire parliament along with King James I. So his plot was found because King James I received some tip or some kind of information before that. So he captured Guy Fawkes and he executed all the conspirators. So that is the reason in England they celebrate, even today also they celebrate a festival in the name of James I or the Guy Fawkes night, so that they will in our India also there is such kind of festivals, and they also started celebrating that festival in England. So this is about the historical background of King James I. So King James I is a Protestant and he was against Catholics. And then come back to the important dramatists of Jacobian age. These are examination point of view important because they will give you 4 names and they will ask you who is not a Jacobian dramatist. So the important dramatists of Jacobian age were or are Ben Jonson, Francis Bacmont, John Fletcher, John Webster, Philip Massinger, John Ford, James Shirley and George Herbert. So these were the famous dramatists of Jacobian age. You need to remember these names, or at least you should identify the people whether they are from the Jacobian age or Caroline age or from the Elizabethan age or the Puritan. In Puritan Interregnum there is nothing to learn big because it was completely like a Al-Qaeda era. So let us go to the next one. And the major prose writers of Jacobian age were Francis Bacon, and he is also Lord Chancellor Advancement of Learning, and he did Novum Organum Scientiarum or the New Instrument. So one of the very famous Jacobian prose writer was Francis Bacon. Then we have metaphysical poets in Jacobian age. They were John Donne, Andrew Marvell, Henry Waugh, George Herbert and Richard Cashew. So these are the metaphysical poets. We'll discuss what is metaphysical poetry and what type of poetry these poets they used to write in those days. Now let us go with the common features of metaphysical poetry. Am I clearly audible, Ghoshji?
Hi, yes sir, clearly audible sir.
So now whenever we write a poetry, we write poetry to express our feelings. These people also had written poetry to express their feelings, but they have used far-fetched imagery or something which is very difficult to understand to a common man. So let us understand the common features of metaphysical poetry. Metaphysical poetry is characterized by a subtle, complex and concentrated thought. It is intellectually rigorous. So it is very difficult to understand for a commoner to what these writers or what these poets wants to convey through the lines or through their poetry. And it employs bold and ingenious conceits, also called as metaphysical conceits. So what is this metaphysical conceit? Let us try to understand the word metaphysical. Whatever you write with related to the physical world, that falls under the physics or physical poetry. Metaphysical means that beyond our comprehension, beyond this physical world, if we imagine something and if you write poetry about those things, or if you keep those try to bring those concepts into the poetry, that comes into a metaphysical concept poetry. And they are using this metaphysical conceits. What is conceit? Johnson called a combination of dissimilar images. So this one you have to remember, Samuel Johnson called it a combination of dissimilar images. Example, in his poem A Valediction Forbidding Morning, Donne compares the two lovers to a compass. So he had used this kind of a compass, and this needle and this needle, this his lady love is here and the male one is here, and their souls are connected here, and so he used this kind of a compass to express the love between these two people. It employs unusual images taken from different fields of knowledge, history, geography, astronomy, alchemy, mathematics, etc. It has a dramatic quality to it and often has an abrupt, aggressive opening. It frequently makes use of paradox. So it is some kind of an exaggerated, highly intellectual, which is which is very complicated to understand the poetry unless we have the explanation by the poets. So now we have just completed the Jacobian age with only to introduce the Jacobian age, some important features of Jacobian age. Jacobian age starts immediately after Elizabethan age. It is the 1603 to 1625. Jacobean means James, and King James I was a king. King James VI was king of Scotland, and he became the king of England because Elizabeth had no heirs, and he is the cousin of Elizabeth, and he became the king of England. But he was a Protestant and he married a Catholic prince, but still he could not bring the a kind of a conducive atmosphere in the kingdom in between Catholics and Protestants. So Protestants were dominating, Catholics were suppressed by the Protestants, and there was a very famous plot called Gunpowder Plot. Catholics, with the help of Guy Fawkes and others conspirators, they want to kill James I so that they can restore Catholic faith in the England. And then we have read about dramatists of Jacobian age: Ben Jonson, Francis Emmett, John Fletcher, John Webster, Philip Messenger, John Ford, James Shirley, George Herbert. These were the dramatists of Jacobian age. And very famous prose writer in Jacobian age was Francis Bacon, and metaphysical poets were John Donne, Andrew Marvell, Henry Vaughan, George Herbert, and Richard Cashew. And then we have learned briefly the characteristic features of metaphysical poetry. Now let us move to the Caroline age. Before we jump into the Caroline age, immediately after the Jacobian, if you have any questions with related to this age, historical background or literary background, you can ask me questions. Goji.
Sir, actually, why James the First married, though he is a Protestant, why he married such a Catholic queen?
Elizabeth I or the Queen Elizabeth was very intelligent or very wise enough to bring peace and harmony in the kingdom. Though she was a Protestant, but she equally treated the Catholics also, and because of the Elizabethan era and because of the Elizabethan policies or political ideology, the England flourished, and England was that means that age, Elizabethan age, was considered to be one of the golden ages of England. The reason is not only in English literature, the Elizabethan age was very famous for the trade, economy, wealth, and all those things. So Elizabeth was very intelligent or wise enough to handle these things, but Jacob was not like that. King James I was not that much capable of handling these things, so he wanted to bring some kind of a peace, or maybe he wanted to bring some kind of a compromise between the Jacobians, Protestants, and Catholics. So that's why he might have married the woman who from the Catholic background.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
Any other questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Diksha? Deepti?
No, sir.
Deepthi ma'am?
No, sir.
Right, fine. Now let us go to the next age, which is comes immediately after Jacobian age. Okay, so now we have completed under Renaissance two ages we have completed. One is Elizabethan age, and then we have completed the Jacobian age. Now we have to complete Caroline age. It is from 1625 to 1649. Charles the First, or first Charles the First only we have to speak. Charles the First, the name is derived from Carolus, the Latin version of Charles. So there was English civil war or internal war from 1642 to 1649. Because of the policies and because of the suppression of the Catholics, there were so many wars in between this age. And the people in that country or United Kingdom or in England, they were divided into two groups. Supporters of Charles I were called as Cavaliers, and supporters of Parliament were called as Roundheads. Now, what actually happened during that time was, we'll come to the historical background. When the kings were dominating and they were behaving like dictators, the people, they want these kings to be dethroned and they wanted to establish the democracy or republic state. So they want England to become a republic state, they want England to follow the democracy, and they want this monarchy to be ended. But there was not so easy because the kings were very powerful, they had a great support from the commoners also, so they were not able to dethrone or they were not able to bring the republic nature or the democracy into the main. So there was a parliament, still there was a parliament, or the parliament was running, but the Charles I or the James I, they were not following the parliament, and they were ruling this kingdom or the United Kingdom or the England in their own fashion. So that's why there was so many wars happening between the supporters of parliament and the Charles I or the king side, monarchy side, and the common people side. And the supporters of Charles I are known as Cavaliers, examination point of view important, and supporters of parliament are known as Roundheads from their custom of wearing their hair cut short. And in this time only we'll get Milton, and he had written Aeropagita in 1644, a pamphlet published by Milton. 1654 was a publication of Aeropagita. What is Aeropagita? It is a pamphlet published by Milton and talks about a freedom of speech. So he was a kind of a rebellion. He wanted to have his own free life, and he had published this pamphlet named Aeropagita in 1644, and this discussed the freedom of speech. And how this Caroline age ended, it was ended with the beheading of Charles I. He is often called as Charles the Martyr under the leadership of Cromwell. So after Caroline age, after King Charles I, the Cromwell comes and the Puritan Interregnum begins. But before going to that, let us understand the different aspects and characteristics of Caroline age. And we have Cavalier poets. Who are these Cavalier poets? Believed in the ideal of Renaissance, man who was a lover, a soldier, gallant, a man of affairs, a musician, and a poet at all once. So these people, they believed that the Renaissance man, the early modern man, is a lover of nature, is a soldier, a gallant, a man of affairs, a musician, and a poet at all. So they thought that man must be innately good, so they have to understand the man, and they are trying to feel that, are trying to believe that the Renaissance man is the best one. But we'll come to know, depending upon the ideology, depending upon the perception of humans, the literature also changes. So let us go to the common features in the poetry of Cavalier poets. So what these poets believed and what the features of this poetry was, the Cavalier poets use direct and colloquial language expressive of a highly individual personality. Important themes in the poetry include the theme of honor and the theme of après-diem, that means seize the day. The poetry aims to entertain rather than provoke the audience. So it was almost all like entertaining poetry. And the major Cavalier poets, and these are also known as sons of Bens. So Cavalier poets were also known as sons of Bens. In examination point of view, they will give you a question, who is not considered under sons of Ben. So understand, Find out this one. Always remember the Cavalier poets are also known as sons of Ben, and these were the 4 Cavalier poets who supported the king: Robert Herrick, Thomas Carvey, John Suckling, and Richard Lawless. So these 4 were the Cavalier poets, and there were 2 major prose writers were there: Robert Burton and Sir Thomas Browne. So now if you go to the before we move into the Commonwealth Puritan Interregnum, what happened in the Caroline Age was King Charles I, he was ruling the kingdom, and he was almost all behaving like a dictator, and the parliamentarians, the people were very unhappy. So they invited the Oliver Cromwell as a Lord Protector, and what happened, those people, they came, they captured Charles I and they beheaded the Charles I. At the beheading of the Charles I is the end of the Caroline Age, and then comes the Puritan Interregnum. Try to understand, under this Renaissance, the early modern age, first age, Elizabethan age, was very good. It is considered to be known as the golden age in the English period, not only in English literature, even in the history of England. After that, what happened, when the Jacobian comes, he was not a great ruler, and he was not as great as Elizabeth. So the problems between Catholics and Protestants created those kind of such kind of a situation or issues where there was continuous conflict between these 2 groups, and they wanted to find somebody who can support their interest. And after this Jacob, during Caroline Age, Charles I was not even as able as the previous king. And what happened during this one, the people revolted against this Charles I, and they wanted the Oliver Cromwell to enter into England and to start a republic country, or to create democracy and to lead the people of England, and they want to end the monarchy. They wanted to dethrone the kings. But what happened at the end of this Caroline Age, this Oliver Cromwell and his group, when they entered into England, they caught Charles I and they beheaded the Charles I, and his son Charles II ran away from England. So that is the end of Caroline Age. So you can see how the situation, how the things changed from the best to the worst. So once England was ruled by Queen Elizabeth, kings and queens were ruling. Now in the last stage of the Renaissance, the early modern, now it is Commonwealth Puritan. That means the Commonwealth countries, they wanted to rule the entire England. So now let us enter into the last one under this Renaissance or the early modern is Commonwealth period. Before that, if you have any questions with the Caroline Age, you can ask me. Ghoshji, Venkatesh sir.
Sir, if you explain Cavalier poets, means who are called Cavalier, I can understand the features of their poetry, but you have mentioned that they believed in the ideal of the Renaissance man. So what do you mean by that Renaissance man, the idealism of the Renaissance man?
How much time? 6:44. Okay, right, fine. I'll not take much. It was elaborative discussions. If you could, Diksha, could you remember those days? We used to discuss a lot, correct?
So, yes, sir.
Right. So we'll not go into that kind of discussion. Goji.
Yes, sir.
So Cavalier poets, and Shakespeare is also poet, correct?
Yes, sir.
Shakespeare was before Cavalier poets. That history chronology you understood, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. So in Shakespearean poetry or in Shakespearean dramas, plots, you can see that kind of a grand, magnanimous characters, grand pictures and all those things, correct?
Yes, sir.
Right. And noble people are part of the Shakespearean plays. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
So people of that age, they like such kind of things. People of that age, they have that kind of mindset. Now come to this present situation, present generation. What kind of movies are more popular and what kind of movies are earning crores of rupees? Goji?
Sir, what kind of?
What type of Bollywood movies are crossing 100 crores market? Are they worth to watch?
Absolutely not, sir. So
Not sir,
baseless
not sir.
movies.
Baseless.
But how could they gross that much revenue? How could they earn those that much revenue?
May I, sir?
Yes, Diksha.
So because trend is that only means people want to watch such type of drama, such type of concept only. That is why it is crossing, sir. And people, I would say, sir, the middle-aged person and the young ones, those who are in the in between of like 25 to 32 or 35, or I may say so 40, they are not willing to watch. But those who are at the age of more than 40, they are just willing to watch such type of movies, and those who are below 25, they are only interested in these type of dramas, sir, which what I have realized.
And what is the genre most popular and most revenue source for the Indian Bollywood movies? What is the genre? Is it patriotism or it's a boy meet love story, boy meet girl stories?
So boy meet girl stories.
And the boy will be harassing the girl, and you understood the topic. I don't want to again go into
Yes,
that
sir.
kind of lengthy discussion. So Goji,
Hi, sir.
it is whose mistake? Is it is a mistake of the public to watch the movies, or it is a mistake of the directors to create such kind of movies? Whose mistake?
Public mistake.
So, the cavalier poets, like the present day directors, producers, they believed that the present day man has not had that much high values in life, and they want these people to entertain them. So, we are going to watch movies just for entertainment. And what type of entertainment are we interested? Where most of the Indians are interested in the lame, cheap entertainment. So now, if we talk about this Renaissance man who was a lover, okay, so what shall I say? Those days, people believed that if a man fall in love with a woman, or a woman fall in love with a man, then they should live for that man, they should die for that man, or they should leave everything for the woman. Devdas. Goji?
Hi, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now, how many of you see in the present world or in the present day scenario such kind of people?
No, 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 not at all, sir.
So, are we Renaissance woman and man now?
No, sir.
So those poets, they understood that Renaissance man must be a lover, a soldier, a gallant, a man of affairs, a musician, and a poet at all once. So they believed that a man must be having these many qualities. So they wrote according to their belief. Okay, and nowadays present day generation, what you call to say, we are. I don't want to comment, but generally I am speaking. If you see, most of us are not goal oriented. Most of us are trying to just enjoy our lives. I don't mean to say anything wrong about your way of living, but simply to just to make you to understand I am speaking. 90% of us, we always think about whether we are enjoying our life, and we compare how much the others are enjoying and how much we are not enjoying. So in that only we'll compare our life, and in that only we'll end our life. So most of us, we want to enjoy. There is no other way, there is no other purpose for us. Enjoy to the utmost or to the maximum level, we have to enjoy. For that we need to have money. So our modern ideology, modern way of understanding of life is, we should have money. If money is there, everything will be in our life. So Goji, understood little?
I can understand, sir.
Alright, so we'll not go into the in-depth discussions, because that will take a lot of time to make you to understand the mind of the Renaissance. If you are interested, you can watch the previous video classes. There we have discussed, and Diksha and everybody argued, and somehow we completed those classes, lengthy classes, 2 hours classes. So shall we move to the next age, Deepti ma'am?
Hi, sir. Yes.
Deepti ma'am, are you there? So can you quickly tell me what are the ages we have completed under the Renaissance or early modern? Deepti ma'am.
Hello.
Yes ma'am, tell me.
Okay, Elizabethan Age, Jacobian Age, Victorian Age.
Right. What are the important features of Elizabethan age? Deepti ma'am.
I don't remember it. I'm sorry.
At least
It's
tell
the
me
period.
2-3 points. Tell me.
Okay, it's the period of.
May I, sir? May I, sir?
One by one. Deepti.
Okay, Queen Elizabeth's period. and then
Everything was like a picture perfect during Elizabethan age. Trade flourished, wealth came, culturally strong, morally strong. Whatever you can apply, you can attribute all those adjectives to that Elizabethan period, because Elizabeth was wise enough to rule the kingdom, expand the kingdom. Okay, Goji.
Yes, sir. Those points that you told, oil came, entertainment, morality, trade came, such kind of things. I mean, they were quite flourishing.
Right. Now we have 10 more minutes. Let us complete this Commonwealth period or Puritan Interregnum. One way I can tell you, it is like Al Qaeda or some kind of radical organization, militant organization ruling the country. So 1649 to 1660, the Commonwealth period or Puritan Interagnum. So Puritan Interagnum means whatever the religious beliefs are there, they are going to control them with that. Puritans were English Protestants in the 16th and the 17th centuries. Puritans are also part of Protestants, but they are like Taliban. Okay, very strict. Puritans were English Protestants in the 16th and 17th centuries who sought to purify the Church of England of Roman Catholic practices. It is a big topic to discuss about the Church of England and how these Roman Catholic priests were corrupted morally in those days. So they want to purify that Church of England of Roman Catholic practices, maintaining that the Church of England had not been fully reformed and should become more Protestant. Okay, so the meaning of the word interregnum from the Latin word from inter means between and regnum means reign. So that is a period between these two ages. Charles I was beheaded in 1600 and what is the time? 1649. Charles I was beheaded, and after he was beheaded there was no king to the England. So no king in England and without a ruling monarch. Oliver Cromwell, he is a very important person. Oliver Cromwell, he is known as Lord Protector, banned all kinds of entertainment, no movies, no dramas, no theatre, no plays, nothing. They completely banned all this kind of entertainment. They believed that this kind of entertainment will spoil the mind of the people, and that was one of the reasons for the downfall of the moral values or religious values. So theatres were closed down in 1642. There was no literary work. Significant literary work was done in this age, and after this Commonwealth period Interagnum completed, then theatres were opened, and in 1660 Charles II, who fled to France from England, returned and he became the king of the England. So 1660 is the end of the Commonwealth period or Puritan Interregnum. So what is this Puritan Interregnum? Has 4 periods. Periods of Interregnum or Commonwealth period. It has 4 periods. First period is from 1649 to 1653 was the Commonwealth of England. In 1649, the Rump Parliament, just remember this word, the Rump Parliament declared England a Commonwealth, a free collection of people ruled by Parliament and not a king. That was the first time the country was ruled by people, elected by the people in England, and there was no official king. In the beginning, they were very happy because they were out of this kind of a monarchy and they were having their own lives and they can rule by themselves. That was very good on paper or ideologically, but something went wrong in that age. So after that second period, the Lord Protector came. Parliament appointed Oliver Cromwell as Lord Protector for life. First written constitution they created, the instrument of government, but Cromwell denied the throne and Cromwell died 1648. Till Cromwell was there, it was very well going on. The parliament, the rules, regulations, all those things were very well established and everything was under control. But when Cromwell died in 1658, then people wanted to gain power and they wanted to rule country. So it is the nature of human. We may speak so many things, but when power comes into our hand, we want to get more and more powerful, or we want more power so that we can control people and we can enjoy. That is a different topic. So this is second period. The Oliver Cromwell was declared as the Lord Protector for life and he was offered the throne of King in England, but he denied because he knew that kind of problem. But unfortunately, Cromwell died in 1658. And the third period is second protector. So they appointed Richard as the Lord Protector after Cromwell died. And the fourth period is Charles II. Coronation ceremony took place on April 23rd, 1661 at St. George's Day at Westminster Abbey. So people of England, they thought that Commonwealth period was good, but in the beginning they were felt happy. But afterwards what happened, when the all entertainment was stopped and when the parliament was ruling, these people, they again inclined to the kings and monarchy type. So they welcomed Charles I. Charles I came and he became the king of the England after Richard became Lord Protector. So Richard was not capable as Oliver Cromwell, so he could not continue the government. And then in the last, what happened at the end of the Puritan Interregnum, on April 23rd, 1661, Charles II, he returned, people of England welcomed him and he became the king of the England. So there are some major writers in the Commonwealth period. See, Commonwealth period is like a Taliban government, I said. So there was not much work done during this Commonwealth period, but there are few writers who can not be ignored. So major writers in the Commonwealth period were prose writers include Thomas Hobbes, Leviathan, Jeremy Taylor, Holy Living and Holy Dying, Isaac Walton, The Complete Angler or The Contemplative Man's Recreation, and John Milton, poor fellow, he was born in a wrong age. John Milton, Tenures of Kings and Magistrates, 1649 published, attempted to justify the execution of Charles I. The Doctrine and Discipline of Divorce, The Judgment of Martin Bucer, Tetragrammaton and Colasterian, written by John Milton from 1643 to 1645. They argue for the legitimacy of divorce on grounds of spouse incompatibility. We don't want to discuss, just listen this one, try to understand what are the books names are given. Then Aeropagitica, which was published in 1644, it was prepared pamphlet published by John Milton, a speech of John Milton for the liberty of unlicensed printing to the Parliament of England, and he wants the freedom of press. When these Puritans suppressed, or this Oliver Cromwell under the dictatorship of Oliver Cromwell or under the guidance of Oliver Cromwell, they suppressed the literary work, they closed the theatres. So John Milton was against these things, and he even wrote one pamphlet or a speech given by John Milton, published in the form of a pamphlet, and the name of that one is Aeropagitica, and it was published in 1600 and what is the age? 1644. 1644. And then we will discuss few things and then we'll close the class. Poets were during Puritan Interregnum or the Commonwealth period. Commonwealth means the wealth is shared among common, or there were group of people who wanted to rule the country in a democratic manner. So the important poets during that age are Milton. He is a Puritan, was also one of the greatest poets of the era, although his major works Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained were published during the subsequent Restoration Age. Remember, though Milton was born and part of this Puritan Interregnum or the Commonwealth period, but his books were published only during Restoration period. Restoration means when Charles II came England and became the king, he restored the old traditions. And then the important poets in this Commonwealth period were Abraham Cowley, who is a metaphysical poet, and Andrew Marvell is also a metaphysical poet. Henry Wagum was also a metaphysical poet. Playwrights of the era were constrained due to the part of the Parliament decision to close all theatres in 1642. And some metaphysical poets were John Donne, George Herbert, Cleveland, Herbert of Cherbury, Richard Crashew, Andrew Marvell, Abraham Cowley, and Henry Wagum. And we have some kind of stock sentences, examination point of view. Donne affects the metaphysics is spoken by Dryden. These poets were men of learning. They wanted to display their learning made of far-fetched comparisons like lacked feelings. It was said by Samuel Johnson, who is also known as literary dictator in the Lives of Poets. Then Johnson named them as metaphysical poet. Who coined them as metaphysical poets? It is Johnson. Then Donne is considered as the leader of the group by Johnson. Johnson said that Donne is the head of the leader of the metaphysical group of poets. And Johnson spoke about metaphysical poets in his Life of Cowley. These are few examination point of view important stock sentences. Now last one, I suppose 7. 2 more slides are there. Shall we complete it, Goji?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So now what is a metaphysical conceit? A simile wherein there is little in common between tenor and vehicle. We already discussed what is tenor, what is vehicle, primary subject, secondary subject. But here what will happen? There will be very less similarities between these two. We have to wait for the poet to show us similarity between the tenor and the vehicle, or there is no similarity between tenor and vehicle, and that is what is called metaphysical conceit. When simile is there, when two things are compared, we compare two things with some kind of likeliness, similarity. But when these two things are compared in a metaphysical conceit, there will be no relation between these two things. Okay, and Milton used the figurative language, and H.J.C. Greetson's metaphysical lyrics and poems of the 17th century, and T.S. Eliot had written an essay on the metaphysical poets, and he talks about the disassociation of sensibility. It refers to the way in which intellectual thought was separated from the experience of feeling in the 17th century poetry. And then we have one poem written by John Donne. The conceit of this poem by John Donne is that two lovers are described as two points of compass. That's what I explained in the previous slide, in which one lover is a point, the other is the point of a pen or pencil, one rotating around the other and both leaning towards each other. So these things were compared in the metaphysical poetry written by John Donne in the Valediction of Forbidding Morning. So these are the important information in a very brief nutshell, precise manner. I completed the 3 ages in 1 hour, and those 3 ages are part of the Renaissance. So the Renaissance or early modern has 4 periods. First one is Elizabethan period, second one is Jacobian age, third one is Caroline age, and the fourth one is the Commonwealth period or Puritan Interagnam. So with this we have completed the Renaissance or the early modern age in the English literature. So in the early modern age, in the Renaissance, people believed so many values, so many ways they believed that human is innately good. But in the later part of the history, we come to know how the perception changed, how the idea about the human behavior changed. In the same way, the literature also changed. So this is from my side. It is 7:03. If you have any questions, you can ask me before we end this class and to log into the general studies class by